All right, good morning, senior school. Guys, you've had 2 weeks off. Good morning, everyone. Yeah, that's a little bit better.
Just back after the Christmas break, Gary Lewis, head teacher of King's Langley School in Hertfordshire, addresses the students.
We are at the beginning of a new year. For all of you sat in here in the senior school, an absolutely vital new year.
And it's a vital term for Gary too, who has major challenges ahead. He's hoping to gain Healthy Schools accreditation and to complete a bid for specialist arts status.
That will bring us substantial extra funding, something close to £500,000 over a 4-year period, which of course is crucial to any school and certainly vital to King's Langley School.
On top of this, he's expecting an Ofsted inspection at any moment.
If I was to be brutally honest, as head teacher of an improving school, but a school that is still not the finished article, as it were, I am still very concerned about Ofsted. The school would find it very difficult to recover from an unsatisfactory Ofsted report. Morning, Rodri.
Gary.
Lovely to see you.
All right.
This morning I'm welcoming a relatively new head teacher to the area, Rodri Bryant. He's taken over a large school down the road. He's just experienced an Ofsted inspection. A difficult Ofsted inspection, which they got through, and I really want to pick his brains. There's a couple of things you've mentioned to me now which I'm getting slightly nervous about. Is this business of triangulation. They pick out a point and they then track that through, don't they, to make sure. So it's really a case of, have you spotted it? Have you got any other examples?
Yeah, well, if you say to your art team, we talked about art earlier, if you say art's really good here, even that comment itself, they'll check that you're monitoring it, your data on it, where you've got that analysis from, and why you've made that judgment. They then go and see some art lessons. Then they'll then go and speak to the head of art or an art teacher.
Yes.
And they'll triangulate it that way.
So it's all got a backup.
They are interested in standards over the last 2 or 3 years, not what you're about to do, and that's the big issue.
Yeah, always looking backwards, and if you're in improving skill,
it's very difficult.
Right, come on, ladies and gentlemen, let's move, please. It was very interesting to hear him describe how Ofsted pursued certain trails of evidence so that they would identify a weakness, for instance, in the school, and they would want to chase that weakness through.
Tracy Middleton, the senior leadership team administrator, assembles all the evidence supporting the SEF, self-evaluation form, which Ofsted will want to see.
Each statement that we make within the SEF, I will ensure that we've got at least 3 or 4 pieces of evidence to back that up. A lot of it tends to be paper-based, and it divides up into the sections that are in the SEF. It's an ongoing process, you know, and it's getting it into the culture that every time you do something that supports what we're doing on the school plan, let me have a copy.
Despite the meticulous assembly of evidence, Gary's worried that Ofsted might home in on weaker areas.
I'm hoping that any sensible inspector would look at us and say, well, the school's doing everything reasonably possible to improve, and to give them a notice to improve is going to do nothing other than make it more difficult. Because, of course, once you have an Ofsted category stuck on you, then you're in trouble.
It's 10 days later. No Ofsted yet, but Gary's coming into school to talk to governors about the specialist bid. He's concerned that work on the bid is falling behind schedule.
We've now got to the new year, and I think now it's time, you know, for you to give us as full and, you know, frank a review as you can of where you are, what you've got done, and where the gaps are still in your plan.
When is D-Day?
8th of March.
8th of March
or ish. 7th or 8th. It's the end of the first week.
Chris Pearce is assistant head teacher and is leading the bid with Gary. It's crucial to get this bid right because 3 years ago the school failed to get specialist status in engineering.
The local economy, the local community doesn't really reflect engineering easily, we felt. So we found it very, very hard to raise interest within the local community. We found it far, far easier in writing an arts bid.
It has taken a long time for us to find the right specialism for us and to get ourselves on the right track. And unfortunately what has happened with specialist school status is the bar has risen.
It has. We were discussing that today.
Exactly that point.
That's the frustration.
Where we're now finally ready to do it, and the bar is now about 10 foot higher than for all those jammy schools that went for it right at the start.
The part that I'm very keen to ensure is that any aspect of our bid completely overlaps and matches with the criteria that are published by the DFES. That is the key element. It's where most schools fail.
Yes.
I mean, I
media.
apologise that we're behind on the time frame.
What confidence do you have that you're going to meet each of these
Well,
five
I have,
guidelines?
because we've got no choice.
Okay.
As well as his role at King's Langley School, Chris is one of the country's leading jazz guitarists. But there's not much time for that while the specialist bid is being written.
It's taking hours and hours and hours, weekends, evenings. It's a real pressure.
During an ordinary working day, things are snatched in 20-minute sessions, and it's not really enough to sit down and think and write a section of the bid. So unfortunately, Sunday afternoons are going to be over to this over the next few weeks.
It's the day of the Healthy Schools assessment.
It's pretty important for the school to get a big tick against that kite mark, something we desperately want. But there's months of preparation gone into it.
Gary kicks off the day with an assembly about stress, under the eagle eye of the assessor.
I looked up what is the definition of stress. Stress can come from any situation or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry or anxious. But what can we do about that? You must take time out to relax, and one of the best ways to actually relax is to do exercise. Concentrate on your diet. Drink lots of water, because that is definitely going to help.
The assessor has a tour of the school with Tracy Middleton. The tour includes the new staff toilets.
You wouldn't believe how many times toilets come up with staff and students, and it's sort of bone tension really, so they're super. Yes.
I was just looking at the effects of pollution on the environment. Do you do a lot of work on the environment and recycling and...
Yes, the students go around and collect paper once a week, and it's all recycled.
These are my year 10 food technology students, and they're going to do a ready meal next week, and it has to be low salt.
The assessor interviews different members of staff and reviews files of evidence. At the end of the day, she meets with Gary and his deputy head, Fiona Winfield.
I have to say, Gary, your assembly this morning was great. I mean, I know it was a Healthy Schools accreditation, but you were probably doing that anyway.
Oh, no, I mean, obviously
yes,
I slightly adapted
yes.
it, but it was all part of the plan anyway, because they're preparing for it's year 11, they're preparing for their exams.
Yes. There's the document Transforming School Meals, and I feel that's something that you really have done here. It was lovely, actually, watching the students, because so many of them made a beeline for the salad bar. I would say, that is obviously really popular.
Same youngsters who made the beeline for the burgers and the pizza slices a few years ago.
So I think your motto, unlocking potential for life, which I understand is, the whole thing has got some historic...
It has, yes.
So, I mean, I really think you live out, that motto very well. Lots of opportunities, and I'm certainly very happy to accredit you. I mean, well done, well done.
It's amazing, even at my age, you still get a little bit of a buzz achieving something, getting something.
Yes, no, that's good.
So we can tell people, because Lily's desperate to know in the canteen.
Oh, yes.
Have we done it?
Well, we did our best. Fabulous. Great report. Got the standard absolutely straight out.
Oh, God, I've got it so
well done to you guys as well. That was very good. They were
A positive outcome for the school. But Gary's still wondering about Ofsted.
I tend to think Friday, another week that's gone by without Ofsted having contacted us. I've said before, Ofsted is sort of, in artillery terms, are bracketing us all around at the moment. They've visited several other schools. I suspect, repeating myself, it is any day, but there is absolutely no way of knowing.
The pressure of the specialist bid keeps mounting. At 7:30 one morning, Gary and Francis Stickley, the chair of governors, arrive at a breakfast meeting to network with local business people. It's vital for the school to market its facilities and raise money from local businesses.
So schools have very good ICT facilities on the whole, and we're hoping that, well, look, if you've got a guy who's looking to sell some products and wants to develop a little video or presentation techniques, we can do it actually fairly easy. Not actually do it for them, but we can, but because we have a full media section, so we make our own films and all that. Well, most schools have excellent facilities, and they finish at, for us, about 4:30.
Hello, nice to meet you. Can I leave a leaflet with you?
Gary knows he's got to raise £15,000 from the local business community.
Now, that part hasn't been terribly successful this morning to support that, but trying to get money out of anybody is always going to be a tricky one, and you never do that That's not the first thing you ask, you know, after we've met 5 times later. I said, oh, and by the way, could we have a couple of K, please? You know.
Yes.
I think we've made some good connections. Yeah. The gentleman from Business Link.
He was very interested in us providing small bespoke services to small companies. The only disadvantage was really, by the time I got to the breakfast tray, there was no fruit, and I was forced to eat the sausage sandwich.
Yes, I think Fiona Winfield needs to be informed that despite our Healthy Schools kite mark, the head was seen with a lot of fat and cholesterol.
They were special omega-3 sausages. Not.
But the specialist bid is taking up huge amounts of Gary's time. He and Francis have come to a dramatic decision.
The intent was to be able to go for the March bid, but in all honesty, the standards have been raised so much that there's nothing we can do, as it were, on the nod.
They can't meet the March deadline, and they're postponing submission of the specialist bid.
I felt that if I took direct leadership of the bid, that it would enable me to push it through. That was a mistake on my behalf, a real mistake.
I had one of my regular one-to-ones with Gary, and we started talking about it, and I just said to him, look, I think that we need to take the pressure right off this, because it doesn't matter if we don't meet this time frame. The important thing is to put in a successful bid. And I could see his shoulders shrug down with relief.
We'll be putting it off by 6 months, and so it won't be going in until October.
Everyone's disappointed. We want this bid for the school. Quite frankly, we need the money for the school, but it's got to be done at the right pace, and it's got to be a quality job when it's done.
It would be wrong for me to focus on a specialist bid that may or may not be successful, and then have the school ill-prepared for an Ofsted inspection that could come in next week or 3 weeks' time or 3 months' time. That it's much more important that I keep my eye on that particular ball rather than the specialist bid.
2 weeks before the end of term and still no Ofsted.
Frankly now, the quicker it comes, the better, because the anticipatory stress is enormous. It's a bit like, you know, being on a ship and having the, you know, general quarters alarm going all the time. That you can only keep up that level of preparation and stress for so long.
But Gary's just had some encouraging Key Stage 3 figures in from the DFES.
It's nice when I can look at this. This is, you know, hot off the press, as it were, and I can see that our progress is really quite substantial, and we've very much caught up and surpassed the national averages. And we're just about at the Hertfordshire average, and Hertfordshire is a very high achieving county. Now, Key Stage 4 figures aren't as good as the Key Stage 3. However, reassuringly, they do show the same steep rise. So in terms of Ofsted speak, Ofsted would say, well, you're not good enough, and hopefully they will say to me, but clearly you're moving very strongly in the right direction.
It's the end of term.
We made it. You've got a certain acidic look about you today, which I...
Despite all Gary's preparations, the anticipated Ofsted inspection, which has dominated the term, has never happened.
They've just about visited every other school in the area. I can only but assume we're next.
Ironically, the focus on Ofsted meant the postponement of the specialist bid.
Very disappointed with the specialist bid. I've made that clear, that sometimes you take a step back to do several ones forward, and I'm sure there's a reason for it.